Ah, what the fuck was that? What was that bullshit I've fucking seen on my TV that I had to surround it with speakers? You know, we only had 2 DC movies this year. Only 2. Only fucking 2. Only fucking 2. I think. I don't know if I'm remembering wrong, but we had 2 DC films this year. And soon our next one will be Zack Snyder's Justice League to hopefully cleanse our fucking palates of the abomination that was Wonder Woman 1984. What can I fucking say about this movie? Nothing. What can I say that hasn't been fucking said at all? Angry Joe basically fucking let everything out how I felt about the fucking movie. He let out everything. He let out everything I fucking hated. You should watch his review on that fucking movie because he fucking goes off on it. And for good reason. That movie is shit. It's very symbolic, isn't it, huh? Wonder Woman was the hero and start of the whole DCEU starting to make actual good DC films. Like, actual good superhero films from the DC universe. Wonder Woman started that. Sure, Justice League, Josh Whedon's Justice League to be exact, was a bit of a misstep, but after that, we got Shazam, we got Joker, we had Aquaman, and the best DC movie that came out this year, we got Birds of fucking Prey. Or in this case, just Harley Quinn's movie, because it's barely a Birds of Prey movie, it's mainly Harley Quinn's movie. We had a winning streak of good DC films, and all were great. I loved Aquaman. Aquaman was pretty good. Shazam was pretty good. And I loved it. I fucking love Joker. Joker was awesome. This was the start of good DC films. Even good DC news. Like, we're finally getting the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. We're getting a new Batman movie that looks pretty good. And Robert Pattinson does seem promising as Bruce Wayne and Batman. And we're getting a lot of good, like, DC games coming soon. Not soon enough. Everything seemed good for the DCEU. Everything seemed good for DC in general. But Wonder Woman, how, like it started, Wonder Woman has started saving the DCEU. Now Wonder Woman 1984 is the downfall and starting to kill it. Wonder Woman used to be the savior. Now it's the enemy. Now it is the destroyer of the DC films. You think I'm over exaggerating how that this movie's bad? No, I'm not. You want to know how bad this is? Oh, believe me, I rather would watch Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. Not just the theatrical cut. Oh no, I will also watch the Ultimate Edition, that 3-hour director's cut. Because you know what? That director's cut of Batman v Superman is far more fucking entertaining than Wonder Woman 1984. But the one, or maybe the few good things about Wonder Woman 1984, I do love the villains. I do like Maxwell Lord. He's actually a pretty good villain. Well developed. He's not a typical villain. He's actually a villain that thinks he's doing a sense of good. And then there's Cheetah. I think Kristen Wiig did a good job bringing the character to life. I just wish she had better character development, and I wish she had a better script to work off of to bring her character to life, because Kristen Wiig did amazing. I loved her in that film. But I wish she had a better script. I wish she had a better like, a story, a well-developed story. I really wish she did, but sadly she didn't. I do love her theme song, that Cheetah theme song that Hans Zimmer made. Oh, that was beautiful. But the whole soundtrack, it is, here's the thing, to me, Hans Zimmer can do no wrong. And that is a truth. Hans Zimmer, for me, can do no wrong for me. He could not make a horrible soundtrack to me. He really can't. Like, the soundtracks I fucking love from Hans Zimmer, like, like Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes, I love Sherlock Holmes. I love, what else? That's hard. It's hard to think of the soundtracks sometimes. I love the Batman v Superman soundtrack. I do love the Dark Knight trilogy soundtrack. I love every Christopher Nolan film he's worked on. The Inception soundtrack is amazing. I do love everything he does. Hans Zimmer, to me, is the best, one of the best movie composers ever in cinema. He is just amazing. But Wonder Woman 1984, it sounded like he wasn't giving his all. Like, it felt like he was slumming it. And I don't know if that's because of COVID, or it's because, or that's how he made it before the pandemic even fucking got worse. So I don't know if it was about COVID or anything, but I don't think it could be, since, what's his name? Ludwig Göransson, or how you pronounce his name, who made the Mandalorian score and the Tenet score, and he made that at home, and then he somehow made a good soundtrack to that, so there should be no excuse for 1984 to be a bad score. But this one felt like he wasn't giving his all. It felt like he was slumming it. And that seems blasphemous for me to say. Hans Zimmer made a bad score? I'm not saying it's a bad score. I'm saying it doesn't feel like he was giving his best effort, or he was giving his all. Because it does sound like he was doing his best, at least. Because I do love the cheetah sound, the cheetah theme. When Wonder Woman's theme song comes up, I still got kind of hyped for it, but then again, it just felt downplayed a bit, because we don't get the signature, the electric cello version from, Batman v Superman and in the first Wonder Woman movie. But then again, he didn't do the Wonder Woman soundtrack for the first film. It just felt like Hans Zimmer wasn't giving his all in this movie. It just felt meh, blah to me. There's There are a few gems in that score, but it just felt meh all the way through. And man, I don't know what to say about this film. I think everyone has said everything about this film that share my same feelings. This movie is poorly written, tons of plot holes. You feel no sympathy for the characters whatsoever. No, let me rephrase that. You feel no sympathy for Wonder Woman whatsoever. Maxwell Lord, and sorry, spoilers for everyone out there. If you haven't seen the movie, don't watch the movie. It's shit. But if you really do want to see it, then this is your warning. I'm going to delve into spoilers. Maxwell Lord and maybe Cheetah, you feel sympathy for. Because at least Cheetah does have some arcing to her that I wish was explored more, and I wish was handled a bit longer, and I wish was given more screen time of what she was like before she became Cheetah. But Maxwell Lord and Cheetah, or Barbara Minerva, they both had... You both understood them. You both understood how they felt. Maxwell Lord and Minerva, they both have this wishing stone, which is the MacGuffin of this movie, and this plot device. And this is where the movie takes a spiral, like a downward spiral into, yep, this movie sucks. Because this wishing stone is the main plot point of the film, and it's the main plot point that kills the movie entirely. And makes you question, why the fuck is this movie set in the 80s when this movie could have easily taken place in modern day, because nothing about the 80s shines through this movie. And the only time it shines through this movie is when Steve Trevor starts to have this fish out of water moment where he's wondering, why is the 80s like this? What is this technology? Blah, blah, blah. That's when the 80s comes out. Which is pointless, because you could have fucking done the same thing in modern day. There was no point to putting this movie in the 80s, because there was nothing 80s about it. The 80s just takes a back turn away from the fucking movie. You want to know what a movie that is both 80s and is intricate pretty well and is an action movie and is centered in a female protagonist? Atomic Blonde. Atomic Blonde is more of an 80s movie than fucking Wonder Woman 1984. Wonder Woman 1984 is barely an 80s movie. Atomic Blonde set the 80s as the main focus, the main background, the neon lights, the music, the tech in that movie, everything, the Berlin Wall, Ronald Reagan telling Mr. Gorbachev to tear down that wall, everything was fucking 80s about that movie. Queen, George Michael, and a lot of things about that movie. Six and the Banshees. Like, God. Sorry if I said their name wrong. But fuck. That movie was more 80s than Wonder Woman 1984. And that is bullshit. There's barely any 80s music in that movie. There's barely anything to signify it takes place in the 80s at all. Barely anything. The 80s is just nothing in this movie. You could have changed this to 2020 or 2019 or 2018 and nothing would have changed from this fucking film. Nothing at all would have changed. At all. Nothing. And it's just so fucking bad. Like, that was like the main thing I was so interested in with Wonder Woman 1984. Like, oh my god, it takes place in the 80s and the fucking trailer has Blue Monday playing in the background, just like how Atomic Blonde did. And Atomic Blonde actually used Blue Monday in their film. Christ! And twice, by the way, because first it was the original, and then the second was the cover song. And in 1984, to be fair, was a good rendition of Blue Monday in that trailer. Hell, that trailer is still good. Like, not like the final trailer. I'm talking about the first trailer of Wonder Woman 1984. Blue Monday playing in the background, Pedro Pascal saying, "Life is good, but it can be better." Like, that was cool. Shocking how we found out that Steve Trevor is somehow still alive. Freaking... fuck, that mall scene. There's a lot of things in that trailer that promised something exciting. But the movie is fucking boring as hell. Now, Patty Jenkins, I had hope for. This woman made a damn good Wonder Woman movie. And she impressed me. And when I saw that, and I was like wondering, this is the director that Marvel turned down when she was offered to direct Thor: The Dark World. And she took it, but Marvel said, "Nope, fuck you." That is fucking ridiculous. And do I still stand by that Patty Jenkins should have directed Thor: The Dark World? I still stand by it. I honestly do. Whatever she made it good or bad, honestly, she would have made a better Thor sequel than fucking Mark Foster, because that dude is a terrible director when it comes to action movies. He made a terrible James Bond movie. He made a terrible Thor movie. He made a terrible World War Z movie. That man's only good at doing children's stuff. No joke. Finding Neverland with Johnny Depp? Fucking good movie. Fantastic movie. About the writer who made the Peter Pan books, and then he took inspiration from, like, kids that he met from a woman that he liked and hanged out with. That was cool. That Christopher Robin movie where we see an older Christopher Robin and he's with Pooh, that movie brought me to tears. That movie's good. Mark Forster's only good at children's stuff, or drama, not action movies. He sucks at that. He needs to get away from that. And you know what? I still stand by Patty Jenkins should have done Thor: The Dark World. I still stand by it. She made a great Wonder Woman movie. That movie was amazing. I saw that movie in the theater, and I just thought it was one of the best DC movies that came out in a long time. One of the best. Because after seeing Man of Steel, after seeing Batman v Superman, theatrical cut, mind you, of Batman v Superman, after seeing Suicide Squad, I know, I said I love Suicide Squad, and I do like Suicide Squad, but, to be fair, Suicide Squad was a bit of a step. Like, it wasn't that much of a movie, because it still suffered a bit of the darkness and lighting and shit, but it was still a step up that says like, okay, we need to make good DC films and not try to be so overly serious and dark. But it was just a step, and Wonder Woman took it in the right direction. That movie was serious. That movie was dark at times. But Wonder Woman knew that it had to have action and it had to have fun. And it does. Humanizing their characters. Wonder Woman actually pretty good. I loved Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, and she still is a good Wonder Woman. Even given the terrible script she had in this movie, she's still a good Wonder Woman. But sadly, the script made her look like a fucking asshole. And when she was in like the first Wonder Woman movie, all the beautiful scenes in that movie, the no man's land scene, the scene where she eats ice cream and she's like so like amazed by the taste of it and thinking the guy created it himself, and she says, "You should be proud about this." That was sweet. That was cute. I love that. Her and Steve Trevor was adorable too. Especially Steve Trevor's scene where he had to have this emotional goodbye with Diana. And he's like, I can save today. I can save today. You can save tomorrow or something, if I remember correctly. And it was beautiful. It almost brought me to tears because it was a beautiful scene. I actually loved it. The chemistry from everyone was just on point. It was beautiful. Just everything about the first Wonder Woman movie I fucking adored. Just it was just like perfect. And as much as, you know, I was like saying like it's a good DC movie, I wouldn't say it's the best movie of all time. No, it's a good superhero film. But after seeing Wonder Woman 1984, holy shit. That first Wonder Woman movie looks like a masterpiece compared to that shit. Having said that, why do I hate Wonder Woman 1984? Fuck. It has, again, as I said, the writing sucked. I felt no sympathy for Wonder Woman whatsoever. She was selfish and she was just a bitch throughout the entire movie. Even the moral seems horribly handled, but kind of executed pretty well because the ending does feel sweet, kinda, but how it was handled from beginning and middle, it was shit. But the end, how it was executed, fine. But you wish that there was a bigger impact from that fucking ending with Max Lord, but you don't, because the rest of the movie is just shit. You know, before I get into it, I talked bad about Kathy Ann in Birds of Prey. Do I still have the negative thoughts of Kathy Ann saying that if she had her way and wasn't restricted from the studio to do what she wanted to do with Birds of Prey, would I have still liked Birds of Prey more than Wonder Woman 1984? Yeah, honestly, I would have. Because at least Birds of Prey is entertaining and actually pretty good. But having said that, if Kathy Ann did had her way with all the things she wanted to do, I don't know, maybe I would have not liked it as much as I did the first time I seen the movie and the second and third time. But still, though, that movie is perfect in my eyes as a good film. Well, I wouldn't. That's going too far. Perfect. I say it's really good, in my opinion. Seeing my favorite character on screen, but Kathy Ann just still made a good movie. She did great, and the writer, I forgot her name, did great too with the script. Margot Robbie is amazing as always as Harley. There are things in the movie, yeah, that I can agree with people because, again, it's not a Birds of Prey movie, it's a Harley Quinn movie. And I really wish they made a Gotham City Sirens movie more than a Birds of Prey movie, because that would have made more sense to do first than do a Birds of Prey movie. Because if you were going to do a Birds of Prey movie, focus it on the Birds of Prey, not Harley. And if you wanted to focus on Harley, then a Gotham City Sirens movie obviously would make sense. So, having said that, why am I hating Patty Jenkins? She wrote the script to this movie, to Wonder Woman 1984. Am I saying she's a bad writer? No. I heard a lot of people say that, hey, she's written before. She made the movie, hold on, let me look up if I'm right. Okay, yeah. She did. Okay. I heard from people, a movie that she wrote and directed, and it's a biopic film. People say it's a good movie, and I should watch it. I haven't seen it, but it has Charlize Theron in it, so it has my interest. A movie she made called Monster in 2003. She wrote and directed the film. Everyone likes that film, Monster, and they say Patty Jenkins did a great job with that film. So technically, that's why I had high hopes, or what people said when they said they had high hopes for Wonder Woman 1984. They're like, Patty Jenkins couldn't do anything wrong. She's writing the movie. Sure, she wrote Monster, and that movie was good. So yeah, I'm all board with that. Even her announcing she was gonna direct Star Wars Rogue Squadron, a movie about Rogue Squadrons, like a video game that I played in my childhood, that I rented at a Hollywood video store or a Blockbuster, and put it in my GameCube system and played for hours on end on that weekend. That sounds fun. And hearing her say, like, hey, my father was a fighter pilot, I'm like, cool. And she said she loved Top Gun, and she was like, man, I want to make a movie that had dogfights and fighting with pilots and just having cool shots with aerial combat. But I never found the right movie to do that. And now she's making Star Wars Rogue Squadrons. And hearing her passion about that, hearing her talking about, like, hell yeah, Top Gun, it makes me think, oh man, we're gonna have Top Gun but in space and in the Star Wars universe. That sounds awesome. That sounds exciting. I was all hyped. I was on board on that. Am I still on board with that? Whatever she's writing or not writing this movie, I'm still on board with it, because hell yes, I want to see a Star Wars movie that's all about, like, X-Wings, like shooting, like, TIE fighters and taking down Imperial dreadnoughts and shit. Yeah, I am on board with that. Like, I've only seen that shit in, like, the Clone Wars series when they had dogfights. Like, that is just fucking awesome. And I was, like, thinking, man, this would be good as a TV series or good as a fucking movie. And hearing that's gonna be made, I am so on board with that, and I hope they use the same like the same special effects techniques they did filming Solo and Mandalorian, where they take like a movie film background and not green screen or blue screen, and actually have like the actors look like they're actually in space having these aerial combat fights with their X-wings and shooting down like fucking TIE fighters and shit. That would be so awesome if they still kept the same thing they did with Solo and Mandalorian. And I would be on board with it so much. I'm still looking forward to that. That being said, what the fuck went wrong with this? What the fuck went wrong with Wonder Woman 1984? What happened when Patty Jenkins took this great character, this great female superhero, and absolute fucking ruined it? Well, I don't know. I honestly don't know what she was thinking. I honestly don't know what she wanted to do. I've read somewhere where she said that Warner Brothers pushed heavily for her to use more CGI special effects in this film. That's what I heard. I don't know what her opinion. I don't know if she has a side to the story. I don't know what her opinion is about the whole split opinions about this film. She hasn't gone on record yet what happened. And if she said that, hey, I thought I was making a good movie, then sure, she can admit that and say, like, I don't know what I was thinking. Or if she said that something happened in the studio that interfered, that made it worse. Maybe there was a director's cut of this film. But if there was, Jesus Christ, this movie is 2.5 hours long. What do you think they might have cut out that was important? But this movie, when I saw this, I had the intentions of watching this movie with family, having a good time, because, like, yeah, it's like I was trying to rekindle a positive past where me and my family watched the movie Bumblebee. We didn't see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Wish we did, but Bumblebee was pretty good too. But when I saw Wonder Woman 1984, I didn't know how I felt. I was drunk when I saw that film. I was drunk, and I was a bit exhausted from the Christmas season because I haven't gotten much sleep during that time. And when I saw this, I didn't know if I was just tired and not interested, or I was actually bored of this film. And looking back at it and hearing people's opinions about it, yeah, movie was boring. It's barely a superhero. Well, it's still a superhero film. It's barely an action film. And I have no problem with the movie having like a bit of dialogue, a bit of like talking and developing character. No, I'm all for that. I'm like a huge Tarantino fan, so I'm all for huge, big dialogue scenes like a Tarantino film. But if there is nothing going on and there's nothing interesting these characters are talking about, then your movie's boring. What can I say? What was shit about this movie? Why do I think Wonder Woman's a bitch in this film? Well, it's quite simple. There is something Now, I said that this whole movie was about, like, there's a stone, it grants your wishes, but it only grants you one wish. And that's the main plot point in the movie. Everyone gets their wish. Everybody can just go nonstop. The sky's the limit about the wishes. And Diana, Wonder Woman, she in her head started thinking about Steve Trevor, and she wishes Steve Trevor was alive. She wished he was back. Now, as said, what every reviewer has said about this wishing stone is the monkey's paw. It will give you as much as you need, but will take as much as it takes as well. So there is like a catch to your wish. Like, you get what you want, but you lose something important to you. And so Diana in her head thinks about Steve Trevor, wishes him back, and he does come back. Now, this could be a nice touching scene, like, oh my god, how is he back? Is he fine? What's the catch about the wish? And the catch is he took someone's life. And I don't mean kill someone. No. I mean, his soul is basically transferred into someone else's body. So he took over this person's body, took over his life. That person no longer has control of his body whatsoever. So Steve Trevor is in the body of another guy. This random guy, you don't know if he has a family, a girlfriend. You know, at the end of the movie, you find out he has friends. So, you know that he does have a life. And at first, I was like thinking, why this random guy? And I was like, and then as soon as I was watching, I was like thinking maybe he's a descendant of Steve Trevor's lineage. He's not. Like, he's not. They don't say he is. He's just some random guy. That's it. That's all. They don't say that he's like fucking like related to Steve Trevor. No, he's just some random guy that Steve Trevor just happened to have his soul transferred to. That's it. And you think, like, okay, fine, sure, he's in this body, so that's a concern, right? Diana should be like, no, this is bad. You would think wrong. Despite that, it is Steve Trevor. It is him. Personality, same person all the way through, but he's in someone else's body. What's the first thing Diana does? He has sex with Steve Trevor in this guy's body. And you don't feel nothing. You feel like disgusted. She basically had sex with a guy who doesn't know he's having sex with her at all. His body is taken over by some dead guy that he doesn't even know, that's from World War I. He has no control of his body. You don't even know if he actually is seeing this shit go down. You don't know if he's actually like seeing this and he's just like in like a Get Out situation or a Being John Malkovich situation where he's just the watcher. He's just the viewer. He's seeing fucking Diana Prince fucking his body without his consent, without knowing he's Steve Trevor. And that's just fucking horrendous, disgusting. Like, you start to gag at the thought of it. And she has no problem with it. As much as she's a moralistic character, knowing from right and wrong, and a strong woman at that. Well, not just woman, just a person in general. you start to question her fucking morality, because she doesn't think about the guy whose life got taken over. No, she's just saying like, yeah, I got Steve Trevor back. I don't give a fuck if he took over this guy's body. I'm gonna have sex with him. That is just stupid. It's just fucking stupid. If I find out that a dead loved one that I love, and then they're in someone else's body, and then they go and say one thing, that me and them, between us, would only know, and find out they're in someone other's body, the first thing I wouldn't do is not just say, who the fuck cares about that guy? I have you back. That all that matters. No, I would be concerned, like, holy shit, this is like a quantum leap situation. Can we like transfer you to a different body or anything? Like, try to find solutions. If there's no solutions, yeah, renounce my wish. I don't want this. I don't want someone's life be risked for the sake of a loved one that already had their life taken, and they're at peace with it. No, like, that's just fucking stupid. Like, fucking Diana is just fucking awful in this. Has no remorse whatsoever, and yet we're supposed to sympathize with her. We're supposed to be like, yeah, I feel you, girl. You totally deserve to have Steve Trevor back, and fuck that other guy that he's taking over his body just for the sake of you. Like, no. I just feel, it feels wrong. It feels awful. And the villain, Maxwell Lord, oh my god. He has the best wish of them all in this movie. You know how villains like wish for ultimate power, or in Aladdin with Jafar saying, I wish I was the genie, and then not knowing that, that it comes with rules and restrictions, and he becomes a slave to being a genie. Maxwell Lord has the best wish because it's something he can find a loophole over. He can have complete control out of everyone. He wishes he was the fucking stone. Like, he wished he was the one that granted wishes for everyone. And he gets that wish. He becomes the stone. He doesn't literally become the stone. He literally can grant anyone's wish. Only once for per person. And he does grant people's wish. He does. But they come with a cost. They come with an effect. And he doesn't care. He's having power, but then he becomes very like, he starts to lose his way. He starts to become the stone. Not like become the stone, like actually turn into a stone. No, he becomes the stone as in, like, he fucking just basically wants people to wish. He wants everyone's wishes granted, because that's what the stone wants. It wants everyone's wishes to be granted and take what is valuable to them by giving them what they wish for. And that's the actor's name, but Maxwell Lord, he goes and like starts to like loophole the wishes. Like, once someone grants a wish, he gives a wish back in return for himself, and it affects the user as well. So basically, he technically does have control of everyone, and he can go and fucking like give the effect of what they'll lose with that wish. But he's also losing something himself, and he's starting to like have his health affected. Like, he starts to cough, he starts to sneeze, he starts to like have like a horrible sickness to him. And the main thing I loved about Maxwell Lord is he's not a villain for the sake of, I want power, I want money. It's not that. He wants to be something. He wants to, like, be successful, actually start a business, actually impress his son and say, like, I won't be a loser for you. I want to be a winner for you, son. Like, he's doing it for his son and for himself, but he's doing it so he can get money, like, impress his son, have his son, like, actually respect him as a father, and he just cares about his son, and, like, he wants to do good for him, and he has good intentions of thinking, like, I can bring my company to fruition and be a success and be somebody in the world, and he does that. And his son thinks he becomes a different person, and he wishes for his dad's kindness. And that's a pretty, like, touching scene, and I love that. Which does go to the spoiler, Maxwell Lord does realize he's done awful. He given these wishes, he had complete absolute power over everyone, and Diana makes him realize he's fucking up, and he knows it's affecting his son because the destruction of the world is going around. A lot of shit is happening. Cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria, and his son is in danger. He renounces his wish, which actually the people of the world start to renounce their wish as well, bringing peace back to the world. And we'll get to that plot hole later about, like, all the destruction happening. But Maxwell Lord goes to his son. He cares about him. He's like, he's sorry for what he's did, and he cares about his son, and he wants to be with him every step of the way and be a good father. And it's a touching scene, and I love that scene. It was pretty good, and good acting on Pedro Pascal's part. And that's pretty good about the villain of this movie. He's not like a typical, like, I want destruction, I want the world or anything. No, he is a guy that just wants to make it in the world and be a more supportive father figure to his son. And you can see that in this movie, and it's actually pretty nice. That being said, let's get to Cheetah. Cheetah, or Barbara Minerva, played by Kristen Wiig. Shy, timid woman. She's basically Selena Kyle in Batman Returns, a shy, quiet person wearing glasses, blonde hair, and is probably the smartest person out there, and honestly pretty, like, well kept. But no one listens to them, no one pays attention to them, and treats the character like a piece of shit, like she's not there. And then later on becoming a powerful character that everyone fears. Which is a cliche, and I think that's what Patty Jenkins was getting at, because again, Patty Jenkins does like to take inspiration from other movies. I mean, hell, she took inspiration from the Richard Donner Superman movie and used that to help develop Diana, and she did a pretty good job doing her own modern twist to it. I'm guessing she took more from superhero movies, so I'm guessing she took a lot from Batman Returns and possibly Superman 2, not directed by Donner, only parts, but, not. And so, what happened is that Minerva has the wishing stone because, again, the museum is looking over the antiquities from this, like, black market operation, secret black market operation in a mall next to a jewelry store, and the FBI wants to know about these artifacts and what value they have, and Minerva comes across that stone, the wishing stone, with Diana. And my problems happen after that. You see, Diana and Minerva have a nice, cool dinner conversation. Now, do we see this dinner conversation? Like the dinner conversation in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood between Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, we don't hear the conversation at all. We just had to take it by trust that it was a cool conversation and it was pretty good. So we had to take faith into thinking, yeah, Minerva's funny and cool and sweet. And Diana says that through like an exposition line, which is stupid. Do we see that kindness from Minerva? Yes, we do. She gives food to a homeless man. Do we see her shy timidness? Of course we do. Do we see anything about her that can back up Diana's claim? Yes, we kind of do. But it's from only... Each personality trait she has is only from one scene before that dinner scene. And after. And that's not enough to see her as a character. Because we now see her as a cliche, typical character who's the shy, timid woman that doesn't speak her mind, but she has a lot in her head that could be beneficial to the job she's working for. And then people suddenly start to pay attention to her once she fucking starts to have a mind of her own and become more assertive. And that is bad. Because you don't know anything about her before that or anything beyond that. And you wish you kind of had more of a background, more of a story to her, more of a character. And Minerva sadly only has little to work out of, but yet you still do kind of feel for her in a way. Because she wants to be Diana, because Diana is probably the coolest person she has seen. It's a similar kind of outing with Spider-Man in Amazing Spider-Man 2, where Jamie Foxx's character, before he becomes Electro, is just fascinated with Spider-Man just because he saved his life once. And just like that scene, Minerva is fascinated with Diana because their one dinner conversation and the friendship they started to develop over a fucking day. And yes, friendships can be made in a day, but we really want to see how that friendship was developed. We really want to see that conversation between the two. We really want to see what these two are as friends and see how they become friends, and to the later downfall they don't become friends anymore. Yet we don't see that. We only hear an exposition line that the conversation was good. And then Minerva all of a sudden wants to become Diana. And it just felt so quick, so rushed. Like, it just went by fast, like that. Now, it doesn't start all of a sudden. It's a slow burn on Minerva slowly becoming Cheetah. And since she wished from the wishing stone, again, like a monkey's paw, that thing takes away her humanity, the shyness, the timidness, the laughter, and everything about her humanity. And it slowly takes it away from her, and she becomes more like Diana. And what was Diana's effect after getting Steve Trevor back? She starts to lose her powers. And slowly she starts to lose her powers and she becomes weak. Like, she's not fit to save people anymore. She's no longer feeling like she's an Amazonian. And that's the effect of it. And you slowly see Minerva slowly becoming inhuman. And ham-fisting the SJW kind of shit there with a feminist message about oh yeah, I was sexually assaulted by a drunk guy in a park in a bench, because this happened to Minerva and Diana saves her life after that. before he could do anything else to her. And she sees that guy again, drunk as well, also hitting on her because she looks like an item to him. And she's like, "Do you recognize me?" And proceeds to beat the shit out of him. Granted, that's not like a dish on men. That's more like he was an asshole, he was drunk, and he tried to fucking assault her. So, makes sense for him to fucking get his ass kicked and beaten. So, you honestly didn't felt sympathy for the guy. So, hey, he had a reason. He was drunk and an asshole. They weren't trying to say like men are awful. No, he was just an asshole guy. It's like Birds of Prey. Like, it wasn't like anti-men. I mean, fucking like Detective Montoya had a bitchy ex-wife or girlfriend, and she fucking like got her suspended from the force as a detective, and she, even though she was hot on a case. And freaking like Black Mask, he was just an asshole to begin with. He was an unforgivable character. The movie wasn't a dish on men. Like, these people were just assholes, and it was equally bashing because there was an awful ex-girlfriend and an awful crime lord. So honestly, the movie's not hatred towards men. Not even Wonder Woman 1984, because we have a sympathetic villain that cares about his son. So that's one thing, for fuck's sake. Like, but that said, it felt like that was ham-fisted with the whole thing with the drunk guy, and that dude probably died, who knows. And then the homeless guy saw Minerva, and Minerva's shred of humanity was shining through because she didn't kick the shit out of that guy. She's like, "Mind your business," and runs away. Because that deep inside her, she'd done something wrong, but it did felt good to beat up a guy that fucking assaulted her. But you can see that she is losing her humanity because she doesn't say anything nice to the guy that she helped feed. She just says, "Mind your business," and runs away before it gets worse. So you can see that shred of humanity actually shining through her, that she doesn't want to hurt anyone else. Like, she's trying to keep herself like sane. And that was pretty good acting from Kristen Wiig's part, and I love Kristen Wiig. She's a great actress. She is fucking hilarious. If you haven't seen her as Lola Bunny in the Looney Tunes show, I highly recommend you see that, because she is amazing in that show. But that being said, again, the development of Cheetah is bullshit. Now, this goes to the plot holes of the movie, and there's a ton of plot holes. But like, how the fuck did Maxwell Lord know about the wishing stone? And honestly, I thought that he was part of the black market front. No, not part of the black market front, because I think I saw his name on the cart that had his name where the wishing stone was supposed to be, like the crate. And I'm like, oh, obviously Maxwell Lord hired a team of people to find this stone, and then they found it, and he paid money so he can have it, and he can get in the black market for him to collect. So that's how I think. He probably read about this stone somewhere, that he's like, he probably sank his money down just to find that thing so he can be a success with his oil tycoon thing. And I think they explained it like through visual, and I hope that's not a plot hole. If not, then maybe I was just drunk and saying things. What else? Another plot hole that's obvious is Why the fuck does Minerva get another wish? The movie explained that people can only have one wish in this film. Like, only one wish. And Minerva gets two, which doesn't make sense. Because, hell, he couldn't get the other guy to wish because he already wished already. But since throwaway line, Maxwell Lord says, "Hey, I'm feeling generous. What is your wish?" And then Minerva wishes she was an apex predator, henceforth Cheetah. But why the fuck does she get a second wish and no one else does? Why couldn't, even freaking he said to his son, Maxwell Lord said to his son, "Hey, this is important. This is your only wish. Do not waste it on anything that you will regret wishing on." And he warns his son about this. So why couldn't he show his son the same generosity as Cheetah by giving them a second wish? It doesn't make sense. It's stupid. Why was Cheetah so important than the rest of the other people in fucking Washington, D.C. that they have, like, they get to have a second wish? Like, stupid. Why was she so special? And Christ. Diana can fly, and Diana can use the power of the mascara to make a jet invisible. Now, why do I consider this a plot hole? I think anyone can consider this a plot hole. One, Diana can fly. Did you see her flying? Actually, wait. She was flying, though. I mean, it was kind of levitating, but she was flying, though, in the end of the Wonder Woman movie, and that took place in modern day at the end of the film. Okay, then, I was wrong. She has flown before. But then again, why didn't she fly in Batman v Superman? Wait, no? How the fuck did she get on that abandoned part of Gotham so fast? She could have flied. Okay. But then again, why hasn't she flown more times in Justice League? Why didn't she flew a lot in that? Yeah, it's still a plot hole. How the fuck has she not used that flying ability to her advantage in the future? Like, what the hell? Also, Diana can make a jet invisible because she was trying to... Because throwaway line number whatever, 56 or something, she says she's been learning for years how to harness the power of the mascara, of how Zeus made the whole island undetectable and invisible to the world. And she was trying to figure out how Zeus did it, hiding the mascara. And this was a throwaway line because, one, she can do that. And two, this is so bad because, like, we're just learning this now that she can suddenly fucking make a jet invisible because, hey, let's reference the invisible jet from fucking the original Wonder Woman comics and shit. And it was just a throwaway line because why hasn't she used that power before? Why doesn't she use it again in the future? I mean, yes, you can argue the fact, yes, she's losing her power, so maybe she doesn't have the energy or time to do that. But why couldn't she do that in Justice League? Why couldn't she do that in fucking in freaking Batman v Superman? I mean, if she can make anything invisible and probably anyone invisible, why couldn't she do that? And they're undetectable. Why couldn't she do that when they had to fly over to fight Steppenwolf in that fucking, like, Russian place, and she could have made this helicarrier that Batman has, invisible and undetectable from fucking Steppenwolf, and they could have done a surprise attack on him. Why didn't they do that? And why couldn't she do that for Batman when he drove across the land to destroy the fucking the henchmen, the enemies? I don't know their names. I forgot what they were called. Why couldn't she use that? It doesn't make sense. Because this is in 1984, and she doesn't use these abilities to her advantage in Batman v Superman and Justice League. Like, huh? That doesn't make sense. It's bullshit. Fuck. Wonder Woman drowns Cheetah. Like, she tells her to renounce her wish, drowns the fuck out of her. We assume she's dead. She's not. She somehow is alive and human again and not a fucking cheetah. But did they say she renounced her wish? No. Maybe they're trying to fucking like put her in sequels, which I don't know if that is possible. But then again, she did wish herself to be like Diana, so technically she will have the immortality as Diana, I guess. Fuck me. The morals of this story, it says that you cannot base everything in your life with lies, and there's a power to truth. Like, they're saying, like, do you really want to risk everything in your life just for something you greedily... Is greedily a word? I don't know. That you, with your own greed, you desperately want? Are you willing to risk everything just for your desires? Like, they do say the power of truth is better, and not, and like, it doesn't, and all the things you do not come from lies. It comes from truth. Like, every action you do is a positive one. Like, I think the moral is taking the shortcut to things isn't right. It's bad. Like, you're cheating through life, and the wishes are basically that shortcut of like thinking like, I can cheat death, I can cheat the system by getting more money, I can cheat all of this. And Diana's like moral of it is saying like, you cannot take the shortcut, you can't cheat, you can't lie to this. You have to accept truth and go and be more honest with yourself. And that's a good moral about stuff. Not like a be careful what you wish for. It's more like, be more honest. Don't be a liar, cheat, or anything. Do things, do the right thing, and then have patience. And they do a good job with the execution of that, saying that and people realizing that, but how it's handled throughout the entire movie is just awful. And the first Wonder Woman was very serious. It had its humorous moments, but it was a serious film. Like, Wonder Woman was a serious superhero, and she was put in these serious situations about like war and the harsh reality of war and how it affects people, and Steve Trevor is saying like, you can't do anything, and like, there's nothing to help these people, but Diana's like, no, but I must do the right thing. If I don't try, then I'm doing something wrong. And she does, and she helps people. Even that harsh like a punch in the face when Steve Trevor says to Diana, do you know how much I would love to believe it's one man that's controlling the wars? Do you know how hard that I wish that was true? It's not. It's always someone. It's always something. It's always like it's always like of some other person. It's not just one man. It's all of us. We can't stop it just because of one man, because it doesn't work like that. It will continue on until you win, until there's one man standing. And he puts that harsh reality to Diana because it's not just one man. You wish that, but it doesn't happen. And that was a good moral too. But then again, Diana defeated Ares, and then the war stopped. So that moral kind of flew off the door. But to be fair, it's still a good moral about saying, like, yeah, that's reality. It's not just one guy and everything, blah blah blah. Because she must have learned that somehow when World War II happened. But again, like I said, with the moral, it's executed nicely because Maxwell Lord realizes that his son means a lot to him and she shouldn't put him in danger because of his greed. So he renounces his wish and starts to be there for his son. We don't know if Cheetah learned her lesson. That's open-ended, or maybe she'll come back in future movies. But overall, why I think it's handled poorly is because Diana is just awful. Like, she isn't a good person. She is greedy to say, like, I could have just renounced my wish just to help everyone, and it was only for the risk of, like, yeah, I lost Steve Trevor. But she doesn't at all. Steve had to bash that in her head, saying, like, hey, you gotta stop this. You gotta let me go. And my God, it's just annoying. And it's supposed to be a touching scene, but you're just like, you're God. Why didn't you do this before? You could have handled things better, but you didn't. You got stubborn. And it just annoyed me. I annoyed a lot of us because the movie is dragging long about this, and Steve Trevor being a fish out of water, seeing the modern world in the 80s, and is fascinated by everything, which is boring and stupid because I didn't realize this at first. We already did this already. Steve Trevor already had a fish out of water story. When he went to the mascara and was surprised it's run by women and it's a secret island with strong Amazonian women, it was short and simple, fascinated with the world and wondering, wow, what is this place? And then Diana has the same thing when it switches, and it's amazing. You had 2 fish out of water stories for the price of one, and you already did it perfectly, yet you did it again in freaking 1984, yet in a boring way. It has no purpose whatsoever but to reference the 80s for just a few minutes, and they never mention the 80s again. Hell, Ronald Reagan isn't even president in this movie. It's some generic white guy president, like in every superhero movie. Like Golden Circle, X-Men, Days of Future... Oh, wait, no. Days of Future Past did do Ronald Reagan. No, not Reagan. Nixon. I meant to say, like, the first X-Men movies where it was a basic white president. And... yeah. And freaking Iron Man 3. Like, there is so many fucking, like, basic white people presidents that they just don't identify as the presidents we have now. And it's just and seeing that a missed opportunity to find a guy that can sound like Ronald Reagan and look like him also at the same time, that would have been interesting to see. Ronald Reagan making a wish for more nukes or something else. I mean, honestly, if it was Ronald Reagan, he would, like, wish for the war on drugs to stop. So, That would have been something. You could have done something creative with that. Ronald Reagan gets addicted to drugs in the process. That could have been something. But no, they didn't do that. It's a generic white president that says, I want more nukes, and then the Russians fire nukes at America, and then the Americans fire nukes at Russia, and somehow they magically disappear, even though that'd be physically impossible because the Russians fired real fucking nukes, and somehow they fucking disappeared in the process, even though they weren't part of the wish that the fucking president renounced. God. It's so dumb. And I realize I'm recording an hour and 50-minute long recording, and Jesus. I haven't gotten to my point why Birds of Prey is better than Wonder Woman 1984. Honestly, Birds of Prey knows how to have fun. Like, it has that message, it has that story, and it was pretty good. It was a pretty good movie, but it learned to have fun. It was just a fun Harley Quinn movie that was dumb and stupid, but honestly, just a fantastic film from start to finish. And I love that film. I'm glad I saw that movie in the theater before COVID took over. And that movie just fucking was so beautiful. I both watched the Sonic movie and that movie at the same time on my birthday, and man, I'm so happy that I did, because those movies were fun to watch. I had more fun with Birds of Prey, but oh my god, that was beautiful. But Birds of Prey, as much as it's a crowded movie where they had to develop characters in that film, at least the characters had good development. Like, freaking Huntress has little screen time, and she's shafted at the as the one with little character development, since everyone else did, like Black Canary, Harley. Well, that's because she had her own movie already with Suicide Squad, Montoya, etc. All the other Birds of Prey characters, they got their own backstory. Well, Cassandra Cain rarely, but yeah, even though Huntress has the quicker and less character development, she still had more character development than everyone else in fucking Wonder Woman 1984. I'm talking about Minerva and freaking Maxwell Lord. I feel like there should have been more to these characters. They should have more development before they got to the whole wishing stone part of them turning themselves into different people. And Birds of Prey did a better job, where Harley is trying to fix her life together, try to be her own independent villain. It was a well-developed story about Harley trying to be her own person, and because she always relied the Joker on a lot of things after she went crazy. And now she finds out, I don't need him, I'm fine on my own, and she knows that she's strong and that she doesn't need anyone to make her whole. She just needs herself. And they didn't hammer it in like it's a whole feminist thing. No, it was more like a character thing. You don't want to rely on anyone to have a personality, to have a purpose. No. Only you and you alone can help achieve your goals and dreams and make your own purpose and not rely on anyone. And they did a great job with that in that movie and handled their message pretty well. And freaking and speaking of the movie, there is that movie does have a lot of talking too, but man, they do a good job balancing it with action and comedy and like dialogue. Like I thought that movie did great what they did. And despite not being a Birds of Prey movie, more of a Harley Quinn movie, they did a perfect job with how they handled the characters. I know Cassandra Cain was blasphemous to people because they hated how she was handled. Because, again, in the comics, she's a mute, she doesn't talk, and she's the new Batgirl or Batwoman. And they fucking hated that she talked. She was a thief, and she had nothing to do with the character in the comics. So, I'm sorry, people, for that, but hey, like, they got some things right. Let alone what Patty Jenkins thinks what Wonder Woman really is. Cause, man, with Wonder Woman saying, like, her life meant nothing, like, she hasn't been truly happy, because Steve Trevor was the only thing that was the positivity in her life, which is really cruel, thinking like, wow, so your mother doesn't count? Fucking like the people that helped you learn how to fight and become a true Amazonian warrior, they don't count in your life as someone you care that's positive? No one at all. Only Steve Trevor. That is just fucking cruel. Like, my god. So nothing else better in your life other than Steve Trevor. That's just, wow. God. But I don't know what else to say. This is just my pure unfiltered rants about this movie. And how bad it is. I'm disappointed. I expected a lot from Wonder Woman 1984, and I shouldn't have gotten my expectations up. I really shouldn't have. Yet I did. But I guess maybe I was seeing a high standard after seeing that, Aquaman, Shazam, and Joker. And Wonder Woman 1984 regressed us back to where we started. And now I'm wondering, will the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League be better than the movie we got? All things considered, maybe so. Maybe, yeah, Zack Snyder is gonna make a good Justice League movie. Probably a fucking better one than Josh Whedon ever did. And as I said, Wonder Woman was both the savior and the destroyer of the DCEU. And I don't, because she brought the dying franchise to grace and then led it to a downfall. I don't know. Like, DCEU really did started to get good when Wonder Woman came on. And now I have a fear that 1984 is going to bring us back to bad DC movies, which I'm hopefully thinking that's not the case. And that hopefully the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, hopefully the Flashpoint movie will get made. What else was there? The other movies planned in the future for the DCEU. Hopefully they'll be good and prove us wrong that 1984 was probably the start of the worst things to come, and hopefully that's not true. Because I'm not a Marvel fan. When I was a kid, I loved Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Blade, Hulk. That was the only superheroes I knew that I loved in the Marvel movies. From my memory right now. I hope I didn't forget anything. But like seeing the Marvel movies do better from superheroes I don't know of or have any interest of reading comics of them. Some of them. I'm more of a DC fanboy all the way through. I grew up with Batman. I grew up with like all of Batman a lot as a kid. I knew Batman and Superman. And probably other DC characters before that or after. Marvel was, yeah, my childhood too. But that was only with the movies. I mean, yes, I have comics of them, but not a huge fan as I would go by. But DC has been always the main comic book series of companies that I enjoy more. Like, I've seen a lot more. I've seen more Batman stuff than other Marvel stuff. Superman, freaking Teen Titans, Justice League, a lot. I've seen a lot of DC things more than Marvel. Because DC had a good track record with stuff. With cartoons and sometimes movies. And you have no idea how I wish the DCU wasn't such a mess. And wish that it could have gotten better. But it didn't. But eventually it did. And I loved every single thing I love about DC. And seeing Wonder Woman 1984 just make me feel depressed and mad that it was awful. It scares me to wonder, is the DCEU gonna be saved? Is it gonna be good? Is it gonna still flourish and not have Marvel overshadow them? Hopefully. Because after this movie, I just feel... God. I just feel this movie sucked. And that I wished it was better. Who knows? We don't know. We don't know the future, what will come, but hopefully it'll be better. Thank you guys for watching. I give Wonder Woman a 3 out of 10. I'll see you both back in the next video. Ciao, darlings.